Woo! What up, everybody? I thought it was Monday. I was wrong. I was just so illustriously incorrect. Because it's the beginning of the show. I'm supposed to sing and do stuff. Whittle-a-loo, whittle-a-loo, beginning of the show. What's up, everybody? I was thinking that it was Monday since very early this morning. And I was wrong. Today is Friday, so happy Friday to everybody out there. I hope you are prepared for a beautiful solstice weekend, because Sunday is my favorite day of the year, other than my other favorite days. Because sometimes that's my favorite day, and sometimes a different day is my favorite day. But June 21st, coming up on Sunday, is the summer solstice, a.k.a. the longest day of the year out here in the Western Hemisphere. Am I in the Western Hemisphere? I believe I'm in the Western Hemisphere. I might be completely wrong about my globe geography as far as hemispheres go. On the upper left coast. All the way up here on the upper left-hand coast, if you're looking at a map, you know? So we get jokes. I'm cleaning my glasses because I realized I had baby fingerprints all over my glasses, and there was a crazy glare from having turned on the studio lights. So, what's up? How's everybody doing today? Hopefully everything's going great. Now that we've gotten past the beginning intro where I explain I don't know what day it is anymore and I'm unsure what's going on, and the summer solstice is coming and it's going to be rad. I'm going to love it. It's going to be light out until like 10:30 at night. It's crazy around here. It's crazy around here, kids. Now we get to that portion of the show where I say, hey, there looks to be some new people in the chat I've never seen before, and some are literally espousing it into the chat. So let's say howdy doody to Kelly Foreman, who mentioned, hello, I just discovered your channel. Thanks for providing such great content. Hey, thank you for watching and showing up and coming around. Let's give you a little synopsis about what the live stream, show, podcast, whatever you want to call this thing is. I come on here on Mondays and Fridays, and we talk about stuff for about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes more than 2 hours. But it is a long format show where I answer questions. We go back and forth. We talk about stuff that's going on, happening not only in the world, but in the fish world, the plant world, the aquarium world, also the regular world sometimes. I try to limit that as much as possible because I do know that people freak out and start to lose their minds. And so I just have a tendency to minimize that kind of stuff. But it does come up from time to time. So be aware that the show is not 100% just only fish, only plants. That's what the edited videos are for. They literally have a title, and they be like 6 minutes long about Ludwigia or whatever, right? So that's just a quick synopsis of what this show is about, but we definitely do have a back and forth. I do have the chat open. You will notice that there are people in the chat with little emojis next to their name and stuff like that. Those are people that have chosen to become YouTube members, which means that they financially help out the program here. Not only the edited content, but also the live stream and the rapport that we have going on and trying to build the projects and do bigger videos and bigger projects and stuff like that. It obviously not only takes time, but money and equipment and all that kind of stuff. Those are people that are contributing monetarily through YouTube, and I give them a shout out over here in the corner. So real quick, we're going to check that number to make sure that that number is specifically accurate. And I forgot to bring it up over here because I had to restart this computer. It looks like that number is inaccurate, so we're going to have to update it in the unfortunate downward direction. We reached for the stars, and we went over 100 YouTube members, and we have slowly progressed backwards, going down below the centennial mark. But never fear, folks, we'll continue to be here doing what we're doing, because unless that number goes all the way down to 0 and this Patreon number down here goes all the way down to 0, I think that will be the day that I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to do it anymore. Because I think literally I have a couple of Patreon people that have been supporting for such a long time that I think I would continue to do the show for like those 5 people if we did get to that point. If we got to that point, I think I would still do it for those guys, because legit, people that have been supportive of what I've been trying to do here for such a long time, I probably would still just do it to 5 people. And you know what? It sounds like I'm making a grandstanding type comment about that, so let me dial that back a little bit. I legit would be enthusiastic about if there was 5 people here or 5 million, you know. So I would just continue doing what I'm doing, but we do have to continue making progress forward, and in order to do that, we have to fight the powers that be, like YouTube, like Amazon, like Netflix, like now Disney and Hulu and every other broadcasting thing, Twitch and all that kind of stuff. We're in the mix here, so we got to keep going bigger and bigger, and I don't know how else to do that unless we can fund the damn thing, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it is what it is, and we're going to just keep moving forward. I mentioned the Patreon. Patreon is a different method in which you can support the channel, show, whatever you want. There's just different methods of supporting the channel, mainly just for ease of, some people want to use Patreon, some people want to use YouTube, some people don't have any money, but they buy stuff off of Amazon, so they'll use our Amazon links, which helps generate us some advertising revenue, or affiliate links, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, so mad props to everybody that helps out, and mad props to the people that just watch the stuff and share it out on, I'm going to say, who are we going to pick today? Let's pick Reddit. To all the people that share these videos out on Reddit, mad props to y'all. I appreciate you. But we got to update the Patreon here, because the Patreon has gone upward. So believe that, we're going upward on the Patreonizers today, up to 242. And shout out to Jason, a.k.a., I believe, Streetwise. What's up, my dude? By becoming that Patreon today, it will connect you to the Discord, which will allow you to be able to access our 24-hour chat. And I notice that you are now in the Discord. I see you in there, that you have arrived. So that is one of our main perks. Not only can you post things up on Patreon, one of our main perks is that we do have a Discord that you can post stuff up into, and I may not respond to it 24 hours a day, but you can post into it 24 hours a day. You could post pictures, links, videos, stuff that you're doing, questions that you have, the real lengthy questioning that people end up generating through the aquarium hobby of, like, my fish is doing this and my fish is doing that. It's oftentimes people will come and leave that comment on YouTube, and I don't have the wherewithal to try and go back and forth in the YouTube comments with somebody to try and figure out what their ammonia level is at. You know what I'm saying? So Discord is a great place for that. We do have a small closed community there of just basically it's members only kind of deal. So that's one of our big perks. I think it's great. We do have a discourse about all sorts of stuff there. So that's a good thing. And let's move on to the mainstay of the show. Let's bust through the chat here real quick and say hello to everybody in the chat as quickly physically possible that I can. Jake D663 first to the chat today. Shout out my boy. Alyssa Bentley, Shannon Montgomery, J-Dog 67. That one hung me up, sorry. J-Dog 67, Michael Sarr, Fisheye on Tanktix, Telescope Aquatics, Texas Andy Aquatics, what's up, guy? Let's scroll down here. I got Big D Smoke. I got Joel G. I got G Bear. We got lots of G's going on here today. Jacob Zeller, The Zen Ginger, Jessica Taylor, Glass City Fish Witch, It's like that's like the craziest new item at whatever drive-through place you want to talk about. I don't want to name any fast food joints because they all suck. So whatever fast food joint popped into your head, the Glass City Fish Witch is coming up hot and fresh through the drive-through pretty soon. Emma Pickery, Streetwise as mentioned before, the Sci-Fi Swordsman, Brian Schiller, Kelly Foreman. Oh, man, this list is long today. David Gatt, Ricab Harris. All right, I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom here because it's just going to be me saying names forever. Darren DeRoos just said, what's up? Donald's Fish Vibes like ruined visually? I don't know. That was probably a response to something that I don't know what's going on. Nice for 242. First concert was Front 242. That is rad. I've met Front 242. And they're awesome dudes, and we had a great time. I can't tell you the whole entire story, but this is back when I used to drink, and I was running a brewery, and they came in, and I want to say he was my sous chef, but he was sort of my lead cook. He was like, oh my God, that's, I can't remember his name. I can't remember their names. They're like German or something. I forget. I don't know. They have a crazy, wild accent. But Front 242 came in, and we actually had the CD, one of Front 242 CDs, because we have this like giant book of CDs. So we turned it on the kitchen stereo, which was way overpowered for the restaurant, and we would constantly get in trouble if we were playing it during the daytime because people could hear it out there. At night, it didn't matter because that place kind of turned into a nightclub, so it didn't really matter what's going on as far as the music went. But we turned it up so loud that they heard their own music and came back to the kitchen. And, yeah, it was pretty cool. Awesome dudes. Had a bunch of drinks with those guys afterwards. And, that was probably, 15 years ago now or something crazy like that. But wild night. Cool dudes. And mad props to anybody even knowing who that band is, because that's the ultimate reality. Something was just canceled off of my calendar. I don't know what that new style and extremely helpful. Yeah. Well, thanks, Dalton. I'll have to respond to that much later. Those of you know that I've been slowly evolving my YouTube style over the years. I've been getting that comment a lot lately that are like, I love the new style. And yes, I've been slowly kind of changing my MO as far as YouTube goes. I've gone through, I've eliminated a bunch of videos that I think are essentially ostensibly useless to people if they click on them. Like this video right here, this live stream will go unlisted. And those of you that don't know the terminology of YouTube, this video will turn into an unlisted video in probably like 5 hours after it's over, which means that if you don't have the link for it, you won't find it. You'll never find it. It's basically exists, but you won't find it on accident. Because something I've noticed is that a lot of people will find my channel and then they'll find like some live stream videos that are like 4 years old or something and then just be like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to have anything to do with this channel. I wanted to learn about Anubius, and it's like, well, I have Anubius videos. Why didn't they get served up those Anubius videos if they were that person? So what I've been doing is going through and just eliminating all of the chaff out of off of the YouTube channel. Slowly been getting rid of all of that, the extra stuff that's just accumulated up in it, so that people will get exposed to those more direct answer videos that I think realistically are the most useful for anybody to encounter. If you were on YouTube and you were like, I want to learn about Anubius, and you get a list of 20 videos and one of them happens to be 3 hours long, and it's not a 3-hour dissertation about Anubius, it's like a 5-minute and then 2 hours and 55 minutes of us having fun 3 years ago it doesn't really pan out to make a whole lot of sense of people. So I've definitely been making some changes. Yesterday, I went through and had to redo a whole bunch of thumbnails, which are the image that you see, which actually I can go like this. Hold on. Let's go add source, and I can actually just show you one of them. So let's go media file, and then I have to go over here. Excuse me. Like, let's take this one right here, and it's obviously too big. It's right over my face. There we go. We'll put it right there. So I've been going through and changing out thumbnails so that they make more sense, so that people will know, like, oh, I should click on this to learn about trimming stem plants, right? So basically what that has done is, like, shut down my channel, like, hardcore. Because all these videos, like, YouTube is like, what do we do with these videos now that the thumbnail has changed and stuff? We don't know what to do. Like, we're just robots. We don't know what to do. So I have to admit, had to be done, and it's a good thing to be doing it. But it legitimately has been a little bit stressful going through and doing that. Because I think it took over like 1.5 million views off of my channel, which is insane. It's pretty insane to think about, like, oh, I just deleted 1.5 million views. As far as, like, all the robots are concerned, like, the views don't go away, like, people have seen it, right? But as far as the robots are concerned, I've, like, deleted 1 million views or whatever. So it's pretty wild. Streetwise says I joined because we have a lot of smart content, but also because you took the time to talk about Diana Wallstad's book. Yeah, Diana Wallstad is pretty much the forerunner as far as what some people would call a dirted aquarium. I try to refrain from calling anything a dirted aquarium. It really is kind of, like, first of all, I think it's kind of disingenuous. I think it's disingenuous to call something like that was essentially pioneered by this book right here. Literally, this book just is sitting on my desk now because I just flipped through it. I love this book. It's a good book. She's the pioneer of utilizing some potting soil, figuring out exactly what was going on, with the ecology of an aquarium, the science behind it, like not using lights. Like, that's one of the things when you realize, like, her initial plan with the aquariums was to just use sunlight. It was just to use ambient sunlight instead of using artificial lighting. But then they ended up adding that into the book because it was pretty important. So mad props to her. I don't call it a dirted aquarium. I accidentally refer to it that way sometimes. But yes, in my opinion, it's the Wallstad method. She's the pioneer of it. She's the one that went out and did all the science and documented it and put it into a book and then published the book. And, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I feel like there were some people that were very self-congratulatory about taking the knowledge from that book and then applying it to themselves as if they had invented it. And, if you've ever seen the movie Zoolander, I feel like it's like Mugatu from the movie Zoolander, where he's like, I invented the piano key necktie. Like, cool. But that doesn't mean that you invented fashion, Mugatu, Like, you're a villain. And you're going to end up in a breakdance fight, So, it's that kind of deal. Like, I don't think it's that super serious, but also there is some validity behind it. We got a monumental super chat here we got to mention because it's $24.99 from Janice for the Friday Fan and Camera Fund super chat from Janice. Thank you very much, Janice. I, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. Super chats, all that kind of stuff. It's big time, and it only means that I can just keep moving forward and hopefully providing you guys really good content. And I do hope to expand someday and have more people involved in making content and stuff. And that's my goal. That's ultimately my goal. I wanna run a small farm with a rafting company that does rafting tours. And does some outrigging trips out into the woods and stuff, obviously documenting all of that stuff. And, building small houses to build a community. There's a lot of things that I want to do that are slowly maybe formulating, minus this pandemic that we're involved in. That stuff will probably formulate. It's going to be pushed off, obviously, because of the pandemic. It's like we can't sell our house or something and move right now. So it's really one of those things. It's really one of those things that like we have a lot of dreams and plans and things that we're working on for this little tiger right here. The Olivia Peanut baby bear, who is just so awesome. I'm super grateful of the position that I'm in right now. My family is awesome. My daughter is awesome. We're just going to keep moving forward one step at a time because that's how I am. And for one big major reason in my life, which is, and I will type it, let's type it in. Let's give ourselves a little text box here. Can we give ourselves a text box? I forget how to do that. I want to left click. Can I do that? Can I left click here? Oh no, it does not want me to do that. Let's go add source text. Oh, and it's huge. We have completely screwed everything up. What did I do? Uh-oh. I may have broken it. Did I break it, or is it still running with just this weirdness? Oh. Why is it doing that? Oh, it is so weird. Do I have to view page source? I don't, what the? This thing has gone like full. Okay. All right, we have to do this the hard way. We shall see. Let me turn the sound back on. There we go. All right, we got the sound back on. Yeah. We crashed the computer, man. Well, not the computer. We actually just crashed the software. Yeah. So sorry about that. We crashed the software. There we go. I have to move this. I hate this keyboard for typing. It is the worst. Has extra ridiculous things going on. So anyhow, what I was talking about before had to do with one of the big reasons that I am super grateful and kind of just going one day at a time is because of this counter right here. 2,229 days I have been sober. So a little over 6 years ago, I decided to make a dramatic change in my life and decided to become a sober guy. And I went to AA meetings and I did all that stuff and I got sponsored and I got sponsors and I did all that stuff. And I'm a guy that works my program on a regular basis. And a big part of that is just one day at a time. And we're just going to keep rocking and rolling. So there we go. Hopefully that continued my thought process, even though all I wanted to do was open up a text box and it just completely crashed. The software, I don't know what that was. It opened up a box and I couldn't click on it and was just hung and was being super weird. So there we go. Hopefully we're back to normal. Do we have sound? I hope we have sound back. Do we have sound? Oops. I think we have sounds, right? I guess I could check it the goofy way where I could look it up on my phone. But either way, we should definitely not care about hitting the like button because it doesn't really matter these days. Yeah. So my apologies for crashing the software, but hey, that happens sometimes. Anyhow, let's get on to our kind of my best, the best part of the Friday shows, which is busting over to talk about some of these posts on the Patreon, which it scaled itself to be super tiny. And believe it or not, this actually works better than just trying to put in a text box. We don't like that. This sized all weird. Let's remove that. We'll go add source, screen capture, smart selection. Let's go like this. Let's make it shorter. Bing, 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 boing. There, it worked. It worked super good. I hear somebody coming down the stairs. They're probably going to try and fight me with a stick or something. Oh, it's Victoria. Okay. All right. We're cool. What's up, babe? How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Uh-huh.
I have a bee question for you.
What?
We have bees making homes, burrowing homes in the sand where our greenhouse is going to go. What kind of bees are those? They look like...
They could be mud wasps, paper wasps.
They look like a honeybee or a bumblebee.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of bees those are because you have to get one so I could look at it with my eyeballs. But apparently we have bees burrowing around where the greenhouse is going in the sand. Are they just digging around looking for stuff or?
No, they're physically digging, like they go in and they scoop the dirt out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also showing up with vegetation to take inside.
What's kind of weird is that you guys can't hear what she's saying, but yes.
I can always talk to you about this later.
Oh, okay. You either got to come down here and yell into a microphone, but you could just come into this mic over here and you're not on camera, but you could just talk into this microphone. I could turn it on. I think I could turn it on. Okay, so what's going on with these bees?
Okay, can you hear me? Am I on?
Hold on. Talk into the mic.
Talk.
Oh, probably not.
Oh.
I don't know why. Do I have that mic turned on? Talking to the mic.
Talk. Hello.
I don't know.
Field trip. Let's go see the bees.
Can I? Are you? I don't know if I have that mic hooked up right now. Do I? I feel like I should.
I don't know.
Are you talking?
All right.
Oh.
Talk.
Here's what I have to do. I have to go like this, and then I gotta go audio, and then I gotta go average left and right. Apply. Okay, there we go.
Hello.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So.
We got special guest on the microphone calling in from
Someplace else.
some location unknown. Yes.
Okay, so these bees they kind of look like honeybees, but they also look a little bit like they're like a bumblebee,
Okay.
possibly.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a wasp.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely not a mud wasp or
Okay.
a paper wasp.
Okay.
I know what those look like.
Okay.
but they are making tunnels in the sand.
Tunnels,
they're-
you say?
Yes.
Okay.
They're going into the sand and they're scooting the little sand out and making a little burrow in the sand. And they're showing up with pieces of vegetation to take inside the little burrow.
Did they sting your eyes?
No, they did not sting my eyes.
Did they
I'm
attack?
thinking mason bees?
They're probably mason bees, would be my guess.
That was my
Or
guess.
they have leafy bits with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably mason bees would be my guess. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm right. I haven't looked at them. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But from your auditory description, I would say probably mason bees would
They're
be
building
the
their
guess.
little
Yeah.
leaf pods, maybe.
I mean, we'll have to get
Yeah.
rid of them because we can't have ground nesting bees where our daughter plays. But
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say it, but I filled in their little sand pods when they weren't looking.
I don't think that will be rid of them, but yeah. There was what's weird is there was a wasp nest inside my gas cap cover, the flap. We were coronavirused for so long that the bees made a nest in there.
Oh my God.
And I was at the gas station like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, what is happening?
Well, so that's my bee story. I did buy mason bee houses for the yard. I'm hoping that they find those because I did get those.
Oh,
little
really?
Bee houses.
Mm.
Yeah. Just the little houses I hung on the fence with the little bamboo things. That's for them.
Huh. That's weird.
I don't know. I'm like, why don't you look 5 feet over there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Have a home.
Yeah. Get in that home.
Get in there. Are you too good for your home? Anyway, I'll stop bugging you guys. Field trip down bee identification.
We have encountered more internet problems. All right, I'm gonna cut your mic off. So
Yep.
get out of here.
Okay. Bye now.
So yeah, that was Vicky. She was here, and now she's gone. People are saying they had to refresh, and I don't want that. I gotta turn their mic down. There we go. All right. Well, I don't know what has happened with the live stream. We've lost a lot of people. We had about 100 people here, and then they left because I crashed the app, and then crashed the software, and then we'll see if they come back. Who knows? But I guess we'll continue with the show. It looks like, I don't know. Is the show still live? Yeah, I think the show's still live. I'm still live, so I'm going to keep doing the show, and we'll continue moving on. Let's see from my end of the building. Oh, yeah, I'm still live. But I guess we'll continue with the show. It looks like Inception. I don't know. Is the show still live? All right. So, we'll see if people kind of mosey back in, but we'll hop into these. Wait, what is this? Okay. I'm going to plug my phone in. I realized it's at 60% power, so let's just charge up the phone while we're on the internet, right? Yeah. So, still live, still broadcasting. Hopefully people will come back. If not, then that won't really matter because there's still 40 people here, so fine by me. All right, let's jump into Sean Stenson had a post, which we were about to jump into, and then Vicky came to ask me about ground nesting bees, and didn't have a picture of them or anything, so a little bit confusing, but I will have to check into them after the show. I'm getting 900 million spam emails right now from camera companies and all sorts of places. So, yeah. It seems like people are having to refresh a little bit. But I do want to give a shout out to that I kind of got distracted from talking about Janice's super chat earlier. Thank you very much, Janice. The Friday Fan and Camera Fund, which is kind of was a topic earlier today in the Discord, is that Canon is coming out with a new camera that I am very excited for. They're coming out with 2 new cameras, and I'm very excited for the budget one, very, very much. So that's what that is in context to. So I'm excited for it. We'll see when it comes out. Who knows? But it's supposed to announce on July 9th. And those of you guys know, because of the pandemic this year, I'm pretty assured that I have all that what I was going to spend on the credit card for traveling this year. I think I'm going to end up spending on that camera. So the R6 is what it's called. Very confusing name, but the R6 seems to be pretty much the epitome of what I want out of a camera off of the spec sheet. So I'm excited. We'll see. Whew. How old is that picture of Olivia from Amcluescent? What's up, my guy? That one's pretty old. I have some new pictures of Olivia on the Discord. I posted some. I think I posted just one. I think I posted one yesterday on the Discord. Let me see. Yep. I posted a hot and fresh cupcake. Some people reacted with the cupcake emoji. Instead of a thumbs up, let's give it a cupcake. I posted a fresh picture of Olivia onto the Discord yesterday. Excuse me. Sean Stenson's this in, though. Says, I have and get a bigger reservoir. Problem is, I'm confined to the 29-inch doorway to the basement. There's some pretty cool doorway water containers, but the freight on shipping puts the price range for space on a build like that or alternatives. So my initial response to this is almost always pump the brakes. Pump the brakes on building a water container out of lumber, mainly because there are the main reason, first of all, it's not going to be as cost effective as you think. Once you start adding up sheets of decent plywood, which you should probably have like 15/16, 7/8 thick plywood that likely should be pressure treated or something equivalent to that to begin with as your base, plus 2x4s, screws, time, glue, all of the stuff that you're going to have to do, the design elements that go into it, adding bulkheads to it, waterproofing the thing over and over again. The big possibility of failure is not a big deal when you're outside. Big things that I can tell everybody that's watching this stream right now. We used to encounter this decades ago when I worked for a fish store. Every once in a blue moon, we would get that phone call. Hey, I've got this huge tank. Hey, it's leaking. What do I do? Hey, I've got a small tank. It's leaking. What do I do? Hey, I've got a medium-sized tank. It's leaking. What do I do? Small tanks, medium tanks, you just tell people to buy a new one and go through the rigors of setting it back up. Big giant tanks start to leak and generally get a blowout. When that happens, and generally does, it does from time to time. Wow. YouTube is not receiving enough data. Man, what is going on with although now it's just frozen. Super weird. Super weird. Yeah, I don't know why. Don't know why the internet is doing that today, but I likely am going to have to get onto the network and figure out what's going on. But anyhow, where I was at was talking about the big tanks and when they come to fail. Now, when they do fail and flood a house, they realistically, the thing that we end up having to do with that was, generally speaking, go to the homeowner's insurance. They would have to pay the deductible and get the house repaired. But if you had bought whatever that container was that was holding water, whether it's an aquarium or a reservoir, water heater, whatever the hell is holding water in your town or in your tank, in your building, in your house, what you can do is via the insurance actually get the home repaired and get all that stuff replaced and fixed and swapped out and all that stuff. So, you know, you might be renting a house and that kind of stuff doesn't really mean anything to you, but I think it's important if you're like a homeowner or something like that to take into consideration the possibility of failure and then having to deal with your homeowner's insurance. Now, I'm not somebody who gives you advice on insurance or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about your homeowner's insurance plans or that kind of stuff, but 90% of the time we were like, what's your homeowner's insurance? How much is the deductible? Like, oh crap, it's like $3,000. But it's going to be way more than $3,000 worth of fixing the house, the building, any of that kind of stuff. It really does, you know, it really adds up. And having the insurance and having something that's a legitimate item. And I think what I'd have to do, so we want, let me see if I can find a link for that. I don't know if it would be on Amazon. So we want water storage wall, I think. It's like, I don't know where. I sent an email to Vicky a while ago on these water storage tanks that we might try to find. So we want water storage containers, rainwater. And so they actually have some of these water containers that are actually, they actually do make sense because they're a reservoir that is like tall and long, but not wide. Does that make sense? Like we have the ICB containers, but they're wide, right? So they're 42 inches by 46 inches, something like that. Like they're almost a cube, but they're a little bit off. Maybe they're 40 inches by 47 or something like that. But these were some rainwater, you know, collection things that were basically like you run it the whole length of a wall, and it would basically only come out like 2 feet from the wall, but it would go up, you know, like 6 feet tall, that kind of stuff. And I don't know where the links are for that. And I realized that I completely spaced on finding those like ahead of time because I remembered I'd looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, those exist. Cool. And then I forgot to give myself the link, but I'll do my best to find it and post it up onto the Patreon later on. But more to the point of the conversational side of it, there are great ways to store water these days that are much more modular than before. And I personally would take into account like being a homeowner and having to utilize your homeowner's insurance. If you had made your own thing, chances are the homeowner's insurance would just be like, nah, you were in here doing stupid stuff. Regardless of whether you do it right or not, they'll just say you were doing dumb stuff and be like, nah, we're not going to do anything for you. And I'll tell you this much, dumping a ton of water and having to redo foundation and stuff like that is a personal nightmare of my own. Nightmare. Michael Sarr says, switch the video to ASCII mode. And I just don't even know what that means off the top of my head. JH Aquatics is here. What's up, my guy? Good to see you. He's not a member. His name's not green. But Mikey Fishy's name is green. He's a member. And I know Janice is a member, but she's using her other account. Janice has like, if she uses it, I forget how it went, but like if she uses it on her computer, it's green or something, or if she uses her iPad, it's not. So I'm glad we figured that out a little while ago. It was super funny. But yeah, sorry about the buffering and stuff today, guys. I think I'm going to have to restart my whole network at some point, but I'm not going to do it during the show today because we already restarted the software during the show today, which is going to be a big weird gap in there. And yeah, so that's going to be fun. But hopefully, Sean, I answered your question. I don't know. I feel like I tried to answer it, but I'll find that link that I had sent to Vicky and post it there up on the Patreon just in case anybody wants to check that out. John Gonzalez sends this in, and I got to admit, I'm thinking at some point in time, I definitely got to start making some videos about this specific comment here. And thanks, John, for bringing it up. Like it's a pretty good one. He says, Corey did a show on invasive fish species the other day. I was wondering if you would ever do invasive plants in our lakes and rivers of North America. It seems to be becoming more and more of a problem and is expensive to fix. These invasive plants can ruin a lake or pond in just a few years, completely choking the body of water to the point that no other plants can grow and affect the native species of said water. Now, that's a true statement. It's 100% true, except one slight issue that we have here is that it is a new problem. This is not a new problem. This has been an ongoing problem. I can literally tell you a story of when I was 8 years old, which I don't want to tell you guys exactly how old I am, but that was 32 years ago, which means I'm 40. I'm 40. I can kick and stretch. Anyhow, I was about 8 years old, and in the Columbia River Basin, which I've spent a lot of my time over in eastern Washington. If you guys are wondering how I know how to navigate deserts and do stuff in orchards and repair boats and do all that kind of stuff, that's why. Which is why I've gotten to a lot of political dissertation recently, and people are like, you don't understand what it's like in rural America. And I'm like, I used to spend a third of my year in rural America, and then I would come back to the suburbs, and then I would go to the city. You know, so I have luckily been a part of a lot of the demographics of America, and people would tell me that I don't understand Eastern Washington, and I do. But having said that, one of the biggest problems that we had to deal with, and Streetwise just mentioned it right there, Eurasian milfoil. Years and years and years that has been going on. About 50 years now, the Columbia River Basin has been choked out, poisoned, become toxic from Eurasian milfoil that is not even supposed to be there. And it literally, people will get mad at this, but it's from irresponsible fishermen that move their boat from lakes to rivers to lakes to rivers to lakes to rivers without cleaning and sterilizing their bilge, cleaning and sterilizing their motor, draining their motor, and cleaning and sterilizing their hull before they move it to another lake or a river or a stream or whatever. They just imagine somewhere in their mind that they're just too gosh darn busy doing their fishing that they don't have time to clean their equipment before they, ruin a whole entire ecosystem in which they want to extract fish from. Before, and it stresses me out because I don't want to vilify people on boats. I don't want to vilify fishermen, and I certainly don't want to vilify skiers, surfboarders, wakeboarders, whatever you want to call them, people having a good time. But that's realistically where it comes from. It's pretty rare that you would see any kind of commercial boating, water equipment, anything like that go from one waterway to another waterway without being cleaned and stuff like that. I do know from personal experience that that is very important and part of the regulation process of commercial stuff moving from a body of water to another body of water. But it's pretty much recreational that has done that, moving around these invasive species that there is no mitigation from the environment side. And it really, really, really decimates a lot of waterways and stuff like that. And it is incredibly rough. But there are some people working on it. And I know that you guys know that I've mentioned Tom Barr a few times. Tom Barr is pretty much legendary as far as aquarium community. He is sort of like the Takashi Amano of the U.S., in my opinion. He's probably one of the most important people in the U.S. as far as the aquarium hobby goes. And luckily, I've been graced to be on a friendly basis with him. And he was one of the guys who was working with the state of California Ecological Survey, something, words that I don't have a reference for. But he was basically one of the guys that was get in a helicopter, fly out to a waterway, test the water, collect samples of plants, that kind of stuff, and find out what's going on so that they can try and knock these things down. And I'll tell you this much, just from the conversations that I've had with just him, barring all the other conversations and research I've done, it is looking grim. It's looking grim at this point. We really do need to start focusing on funding that kind of stuff. Recently, one of the YouTube channels that I financially support is called Knowing Better. And he actually did a video about climate change and that kind of stuff, but it really kind of boiled down a lot of where we could start to make efficiencies within the United States to start being able to spend money on things like cleaning up our environment, mitigating things that are not only polluted by, chemicals and waste and, expelled, whatever, waste is the word. We'll just stay with waste. But also the energy grid and that kind of stuff, so we can start to mitigate and put money into trying to get some of our environment back to where it kind of needs to be. I know that when we go out into the environment these days, it's really easy to not see the scars that are there. I can go and hike for days and days and days in what seems to be old growth forest, right? It doesn't register in my mind as a human being when I'm looking at 80-foot trees, right, from standing right next to them, that they're actually supposed to be 110 feet trees. It doesn't register in my personal brain because I don't have a doctorate in forestry, you know what I mean, and forestry management and stuff like that. And it would be really easy for anyone else to have that same, like, oh, look, the forest is doing good. And so it really does take the experts and stuff that are really doing that, and it really does take the funding, and it does take the commitment of funds and funding to be able to do that kind of stuff. And I think Knowing Better kind of like wrapped it up pretty well, that we realistically do have to move into like nuclear technology for our power at some point in time. And the reason that all kind of ties together is that my experience in the Columbia River Basin has to do with all of the hydroelectric dams there. Now, the irrigation produced by these water reservoirs is incredibly important. The hydroelectric power is incredibly important. But how long is that infrastructure going to last when we start to lose the actual waterways behind them to things like Eurasian milfoil are just ruining and decimating the water behind those hydroelectric dams. And how long can we continue to just kind of battle it back and battle it back and battle it back? And there's only a certain amount of time we can continue to battle the actual nature of those plants to just grow and reproduce and do what they're doing. So, I think it's a big multifaceted situation that we kind of need to tackle on a much broader agenda, and I think that we're noticing that with this pandemic. We're noticing with the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening right now. We're noticing that, I think, with education, with the military, with all these things, like we're really need to kind of take a step back and figure out how to take a real large attack on these gigantic systems that we really all should be taking into consideration. Glass City says we have large problems with invasive in Lake Erie to the point of cleaning out the plants. Made it onto the show Dirty Jobs. The camera crew just happened upon some poor kid cleaning it out of a harbor. Yeah. So, whether it be invasive fish species like the snakehead, I mean, like that snakehead is just taking over and just killing off native fish like it's going out of style. And, when it comes down to that kind of stuff, I think the unfortunate thing is that it's real easy for somebody to wave around either their blue flag or their red flag or whatever, and it's real easy to just say like, well, my senator thinks that's a bad idea. Well, I think us as a whole, in speaking as an American, I think we need to start to tackle these problems on a much larger scale than we have been for the last 50 years, because we just really haven't. Like I said, I think that goes in with pretty much every system that we have in place right now. I don't think that it's limited to just that, but, fingers crossed, I guess. I don't know. Speak about it on the internet, I guess. I don't know. But, that's just kind of my opinion on it with some of my experiences thrown in. It isn't a dissertation on this is right or this is wrong or any of that kind of stuff. But I really do think that Knowing Better did a great job of summing up like probably the direction that we should be headed in with at least just our power grid, so that we could start to make some of those environmental changes that I believe that we have to do, or we're going to start to really run into some real big problems. JH Aquatic says, when we clear cut the land, the ecosystem is never the same again. Well, I will argue with that, and I will say the ecosystem will be the same again, just not on a timeline that has anything to do with humans. We do know that from the explosion of Mount St. Helens here in 1980, so 40 years ago, Mount St. Helens exploded and clear-cut a whole entire mountain in Washington State. And if you guys want to look up, hold on. How do I do that? Let me see. Let's go like this. Then I got to go window. Let's see. Mount St. Helens stratovolcano. Let me find image search. Images. Do we have a before and after? Oh, there it is. This is before. So let's go save image as. We'll save it as that. June 1970. Oh, marvelous. What a beautiful image, though. I got to tell you. It's a beautiful image. I got to tell you. And this one, boy, howdy, this is a beautiful image, too. So let's save that one. Then we go over here and we go add source. Boom. Media files. There it is before. And let's resize that down. So there's a beautiful, lovely, lovely mountain. You guys got to know something. Mountains are in my heart. Mountains live in my heart. They live in my heart place is where mountains live. They live right inside there. They keep me all warm and fuzzy. I feel a deep connection to mountains. I really do. I don't know what's wrong with me, but it's something. It's something that is wrong with me. It's a legitimate thing that I would say is a little bit wrong. But just to give you an idea, that whole entire mountain blew up and then became this. And this isn't the explosion. This is like a little while ago. It gave out a little puff, a puffy. It's been burping. It's been sending out some burps and doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, so that mountain used to look like that. Then it looked like that. Giant mountain exploded here. Now it has given a lot of the scientists and ecologists and forestry service workers and forestry service experts and all that kind of stuff. It really has given them a lot of time to see what happens with the ecosystem when it's completely obliterated. It is an obliterated. It was an obliterated ecosystem. I mean, it was ash. It was burned. All the trees were gone. All of the stuff was gone. The waterways were swept away. There was no fish. There was no water. There's no nothing. So they've been able to actively study this for the last 40 years in detail because this is federal forest land, right? So you can't just go out here and put buildings up. You can't just go out here and start mining the ground. You can't. There's a bunch of stuff you can't do. Federally protected land, very important, very stressfully important. I cannot stress how much our federal lands are just monumentally important. But moving on, we've been able to study it for 40 years. And I will tell you, the studies are amazing. They're fantastic. I mean, salmon are back spawning out there, right? Through the work of tons and tons of people making monumental changes, big changes, small changes, taxation changes, non-taxation changes, EPA protections, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff has gone into that and being able to see the environment come back. But it really doesn't. The environment does come back. It just doesn't come back in a timeline that is at all convenient for humans, right? So you think this environment has started to return after 40 years, right? Just imagine if you were reliant off that land. You would have been dead 39 years ago, So it really is one of those things that, like, yes, the environment will survive. It will continue on. George Carlin talked about it, how it's not a matter of whether or not we kill the planet. The planet will still be here. It's whether or not we make the planet uninhabitable for human beings, right? Which is what we should all be kind of taking into consideration when we are considering these kinds of things. Like, it is awful, and I think it is awful if a species becomes extinct. I am not a fan of it. It's not something I endorse. But we have to remember that we are trying to, what is it, promulgate? Is that the right word? I don't know if that's right. We're trying to proliferate and bring the humanity forward. We're trying to bring humanity forward. We're trying to improve humanity and do that kind of stuff. So we got to try and get in that middle ground of figuring out how we can continue to keep these things going, right? We want to keep these things going because we don't want the loss of human life. And it's, to me, something that's contextual right now is like wearing a simple face mask in public. Someone told me it could be as little effective as 5%. Somebody told me that, which I find difficult to believe that they actually believe that. But let's say it was only 5%, right? That's a monumental improvement from 0% protection of other people from getting my germs, my bacteria, my virus, my stuff expelled from my body, which we do know Is anybody questioning whether that's real or not? So I think something that's contextual with right now would be it's just wearing a simple face covering out in public, right? That's the same kind of thought process in my mind, is like, how are we going to make things better for everybody so that we can continue continue humanity moving forward? I love dogs, animals, fish, plants, all that kind of stuff. I've never mated with one of them. You know? Victoria and I created this baby right here. And maybe there are people out there that don't have kids, or maybe there's people out there that don't care about their kids. I don't know. But that's like the most important thing right there, right? I would like her to be able to at least live to my 40 years, right? So I think we just, do the simple things and keep moving forward. I don't know. I got deep here for a second. Let's shake it off a little bit and get back to some fish stuff, because Tales from the Man Cave sent us a dope picture right here. I got to tell you. I think this would place. I think he's right. It says, how do y'all like my aquascape? Too bad the IAPLC deadline has passed already. Would have been a strong contender, don't you think? I call it beauty in destruction. And I think this actually ties in with our little Mount St. Helens freak out there. Whatever. I think we might need to rename this aquascape the St. Helens, right? I think we got to rename it, because this is pretty much exactly what happened at Mount St. Helens, except it's still got some greenery here, right? But I feel your pain, bro. Like, this is literally what happens when it's time to change an aquascape, and it's just a brutal moment where you're like, oh god, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. You got to restart a tank. You got to redo your aquascape, and your ecosystem may or may not have worked out as well as you wanted it to, which kind of ties into the Mount St. Helens thing, is that, like, we should continue to study our ecosystems and figure out exactly what we're doing, and let's keep moving forward and learning and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think this is a solid aquascape. I think it would have placed like top 100 probably. It probably would have gotten prize money. I would think. Yeah, I think we all get the joke, right? But it's hard. It's hard, man, when you're rescaping stuff and you're just like, oh crap, and you got to rip everything out, and you realize, like, this is just depressing. Like, oh, but to each his own, right? To each his own. I guess I think maybe with naming it so well, you might be with naming it so well, you might be in line to, really actually place. I don't know. Send in the picture. Let's see what happens. Oh, damn, we're after the deadline. Okay. Next year, I guess. I don't know. People have asked me time and time again whether or not I'm going to compete in the IAPLC. About a decade ago, I thought that it would have been a really good idea to get involved in aquascaping competitions. And I currently don't think it's really my thing. I might do it if I had like a sponsored tank, but I personally don't see myself investing the time and energy into trying to win one of those contests. Which maybe sounds rude. That maybe, I apologize if I'm sounding rude, but I'm not personally invested in trying to win that prize. And maybe that'll change. Maybe that will come along at some point in time, and I'll be like, I've got to win this competition just to show people like the legitimacy of what I do. But I feel like I'm more interested in the engagement side of things, helping other people with their stuff. Not being all super closed lip about what it is that I do, how I mitigate things, how I fix things, how I grow things, how I do stuff like that. I think I'm way more deeply invested in that, and I think I would continue doing what I'm doing. So it feels like a 180 if I was to get into the competition side of things, because you really don't want to. I mean, you really don't want to, tell everybody your secrets if you're somebody that's doing that. If you're somebody that's doing that competition, you don't want to be showing everybody how you really did it, because next year, everybody's going to be taking what you're doing and using it against you in a competition. And I don't think that's better for the community to be not sharing what it is that you're doing. I think it's better to share into the community. People get interested, they get excited, they start to learn stuff, they get engaged, and they have a cool hobby that they really like to do that is not only aesthetically pleasing, but it's pleasing with your time and you're learning stuff. Like, there's just so many aspects of it that people are learning things, that I think that that's a better pursuit personally. But I'm not shaming anybody for doing it. Like, I love Andrew. He competes in it every year. I have like a 20-minute interview video that I've been editing with him. Like, I love the guys that do it. I love seeing the work. I love seeing who won. That's rad. I love seeing the photography side of it. I just like sharing information and helping people and being engaged that way. I think I would do like a sponsored tank if they sponsored me to do it, like for the event or something. I think I would be more inclined to do that. Like maybe if I got sponsored to do an Interzoo tank, right? Like set up a tank, maintain it for like 4 months, and then have it on display at Interzoo and then give it away. I think that would be much cooler project. I think personally would be a much cooler project. And it's also that's something that I wanted to do with the makerspace. If that makerspace had gotten funded, that would have been one of the things that I would have been doing, is literally taking tanks that were sponsored by companies, aquascaping them, doing the how-to video, all that kind of stuff, and then giving it away so that the next one could come in, and we could do that again. That's basically what I was going to do. And you think about it, like, if you're doing like one every 2 months or something like that, it's only 6 a year. So I don't think it would be like, oh my God, this guy's just like constantly doing the giveaway thing. But, yeah, that was ultimately kind of my goal. I mean, really, that was kind of one of the big things that I wanted to do. And now that I've, spoiler alert, I've spoiled what I wanted to do in the live stream. And now somebody's probably going to take that idea and run with it. But it's not really even that innovative of an idea. I mean, realistically, do a thing and then do a giveaway. Like, that's not... I haven't, like, invented something. Maybe I have, but I'm not going to tell you about my inventions, okay? But let's jump in here. Tales from the Man Cave also shared this. Some grown-out Cryptocorini parva, anyone. Maybe I'll put them in a vase. Really should get some chickens, though, which is a good point. You should get some chickens. Somebody asked earlier how our chickens are doing. Our chickens are doing swimmingly. Their chicken yard is starting to smell a little bit like the old chicken poop, because they're chickens and they constantly poop, which I'm thinking I'm going to likely have to get some hay this year. I think I'm going to have to incorporate some hay into their yard. But other than that, the updates are they're still laying. We did not expect them to continue laying eggs this year. We thought that they were pretty much kind of drying out. And they're still putting down. I think they're putting down about 9 eggs a week. No, 11 eggs a week. Just shy of a dozen a week at this point, which actually is pretty nice because that means that I can have a couple of eggs every day-ish. Some days I don't. Like today I had yogurt and what did I have? Yogurt and green beans and Cheerios for breakfast. Not in milk, but I had a yogurt, some green beans, and some Cheerios for breakfast. Man, I just said that out loud, and that is weird. I legit just was saying that out loud and realized, like, that's a weird thing for somebody to eat for breakfast. Mainly because of the green beans. Like, I'll admit that. I'll admit that 100%. It literally was the green beans that really just threw it out there. But yeah, I would recommend anybody that has the space and a little bit of time and just a little bit of energy to possibly get some chickens, because that really will expose you and bring you into getting some of the some of that experience with nature and stuff that I think is really important, and kind of, you know, how food is produced. I think it's the easiest avenue to kind of learn about how food is produced realistically, in a real physical, hands-on way. You can start to learn, like, oh, okay, that's what goes into this. That's what goes into that. That's like it's really beneficial. Melissa Bentley says, I think you should go to the door. Or I think you should go door to door and tell all your neighbors, get off the internet when you're streaming. There's not a lot of people on my internet here. So I think it realistically has something to do. I think I should restart my router, just because at some point in time here. Let's go to speed test here real quick and see what my speed is at right now. And I'll be able to tell you if I should restart my router or not. Let's check it. Ping not that long. Download speed is at 600 megabytes a second, which is a little off what I'm supposed to be at. Download finished at 632 megs a second, and my upload speed is 60 megs shy of 1 gig a second. So why is it not working? Don't know. But I will likely restart everything after the stream is over, because could have any number of things to do with software on my end, which is likely because I know that things are updating and all that kind of crazy stuff. So that's probably what it is just software side of it more than anything. But I'll restart my router too for Monday's show. Who's still hanging around here? Darren DeRoos is still hanging around. Sorry if you answered this already, but I was off the net for a minute. What CO2 tank would you suggest to use with a CO2 ART or F-zone regulator kit? Would a fire extinguisher work? A fire extinguisher CO2 will work, yes, technically. From the welding company and stuff that I work with, the gas company that I work with, they don't recommend using the fire extinguisher CO2s with any kind of regulator, whether it's a aquarium regulator or anything like that. Hold on, my back itches, so I'm going to use my back scratching level here. It's from scratching my back, you know. That's legit. It's normal, right? So they don't recommend that because you get a different grade of CO2 put into them typically. I know that the CO2 that I get now is food grade. I get food grade CO2, which means that it's safe to use in food, which means that it doesn't have any particulate matter or anything like that in it. But the fire extinguishers are normally filled with something that I don't know if it's dirtier or if it's the exact same stuff, but they claim that it's not food grade that gets put into those. So you could be getting an inferior product that could possibly contaminate your regulator and damage it. Now, whether that's conjecture or not, I think a parallel to that would be like using crappy gas in your car and ruining the fuel filter on a regular basis, which it does happen sometimes. So I would recommend, and considering how cheap the tanks are now, like I have them in my Amazon store, but let's go see if we can grab a link for one real quick, because it's always great when you guys have easy access to the Amazon links, right? CO2 tank empty. So there's a 10-pounder, a 5-pounder. I recommend for the average person to get a 10-pounder. That's gonna give you just enough CO2 for the regular kind of everyday average person. Enough CO2 to last you a good amount of time. I'm saying like 4 to 6 months, which means you're probably going to only have to get this thing filled once or twice a year, something like that. Well, twice or 3 times. There we go. You're not going to have to go there very often, is what I'm trying to say. I personally use the 20-pounders myself, and this does kind of turn into a little bit of a hunt on Amazon, but they sell the empty tanks now. And so what I do is you can get an empty tank. Let me get the link here for you. Copy. And I go to the gas place, and they just swap it out for me because I don't really care about getting the really fancy, nice-looking tank. It just doesn't matter to me, but I've noticed that it matters to a lot of people. So there's the link right there. It does matter to a lot of people that they want the tank to be shiny and stuff. I personally don't care. So I take the empty tanks in, I drop them off on the thing. I walk over to the guy. He goes, "How many tanks you got?" And I go, "I got 3 20-pounders CO2. And he goes, "Okay." And then he runs off, like runs. Where I go, they run away. They run. They like, "Ah!" And they run away. And they scream, "Ah!" really loud. Then he comes back with full ones. But while he's going to get those, I go pay for them. I walk back out. I grab the full ones. I put them in my truck, and I drive away. I do 20-pounders because I find they're the easiest to manage. I have to obviously fill them less often and get them refilled less often. The other day, I realized I had one of my stupid systems was just running so much CO2 that I ran through a 20-pound tank in. It has been a month and a half, which is ridiculous, but that happens to me sometimes because we all make mistakes. So, yeah, it's really up to you if you want the bright and shiny one and actually have them actually fill that one. So, Brian Schiller says the new shiny tanks on Amazon are cheaper than the ones at the welding supply place, at least locally. And yes, I can verify that from my own personal experience is that, like, I think a 20-pound aluminum CO2 at the welding place, I think you pay like, I think it's like $220 or something for one, or something crazy like that. I don't know. It was absurd. I was like, are you stupid? But the welding place, it's refundable. Like a big portion of it's refundable. So basically, like if the tank costs $80, they're going to charge you like $200. But when you bring it back and not take the next one, then they give you like $100 back or something like that, you know? So there's like a deposit involved basically with what they're doing. And that's to basically keep you as a customer, and it's BS. So just buy one off Amazon and be like, I have an empty one. I would like it to be full. Some places you have to wait a few days to get it filled up. So that's why I say, like, I wouldn't do that. JH says, oh, shoot, you were talking about CO2. Yeah, I don't know. Streetwise posted something, but then retracted the message, so I couldn't read it. Yeah, I want cheap and effective. Haha, the tank will be hidden. Yeah, I don't care about the tank really looking fancy or anything like that. Jones says, you guys think so? I'm using reverse osmosis. What's going on here, Jones? Let me scroll back up here so I can read what it is that you started talking about. Jonesy says, guys, I have a question. What do you think about flow in the tank? I think that's the reason why I have hair algae on fast-growing plants, because I don't have enough flow. Yes, 2 things, generally. Hair algae will kind of be mitigated by flow, but not really. It's generally low CO2 and... oh, my brain. It's in there somewhere. I want to say phosphates, but that does not feel right. But hair algae is a shortage. Hold on. Let me Google real quick. Hair algae. I'm trying to remember. I think it's low phosphate. Oh, this is a terrible. How to get rid of hair algae. Adjust the pH of your pond so it is between 7 and 8. That doesn't. I'm trying to remember what the low. I think means it's low phosphate. I think, which is just basically you need to up your fertilizer to catch up to that and figure out where your shortage is. But low CO2 is almost always, not always, but it's almost always one of the big time mitigating factors for your plants being outcompeted by stupid algae. Which, by the way, I do love algae because it's a fantastic, it's a great part of our environment and everything. So I'm not bad-mouthing algae. I'm bad-mouthing the aesthetic of algae. It sucks. And by the way, anybody out there that says that they have a nature aquarium because they haven't cleaned the damn thing or maintained it in a year, and it's all just like a crap pile of algae in there, that's not a nature aquarium. That's just a lazy douchebag aquarium. Like, get out of here with that weak nonsense. Like, oh, I'm going to name it Nature Aquarium. It's nature. Oh, it's just, it's a douche move, in my opinion. And I'm wrong sometimes, but I don't think I'm wrong on this one. Brian Schiller says, if you're swapping tanks, check Craigslist. Yeah, Craigslist is a great source for finding used equipment. I don't really recommend it these days with regulators necessarily and that kind of stuff because it's just come down so far. So let's see, the F Zone is the company that's... So F Zone, I'm it's not necessarily shots fired, but they basically stole CO2 Art's like setup, rebranded it, and are selling it much cheaper. So is good, bad, and different. I mean, it's legal, so I think it's kind of rude, realistically. But if we're supposedly like this hyper-capitalist and society, then I guess it's okay, right? Looks like the price has gone up a little bit, but I mean, I don't know if you're going to find a dual-stage regulator with electronic solenoid with 2 needle valves and 2 bubble counters to run 2 tanks for I think was $130. I don't think you're really going to see that. I don't think you're really going to see that. That's brand new on Craigslist. Seems iffy if you'll be able to find it or not. And I've had good experiences with getting equipment off of Craigslist, and I've also had bad experiences. So it's difficult. It's kind of a toss-up for me to really give advice to be like, yeah, go to Craigslist, find some used stuff in this department. Like if I go buy AquaClear filters off of Craigslist for like, I buy a couple of them for $20 and maybe the impeller on one sucks, so I have to replace the impeller, but I can visually inspect them, make sure that they're not cracked, turn them on into something and find out if they work or not. You know what I mean? But it sucks when something like a CO2 regulator doesn't work right. Jones is dosing ADA for full fertilizer with a doser pump. I would do some water tests and find out what may or may not be lacking in your water column. But I would start with CO2. Make sure your CO2 is over 30 parts per million, and then after that, start to kind of jump back and find out what fertilizers. You possibly could have your lights on for too long, too much intensity, not enough intensity, So there's a lot of kind of goofy things to go back and forth with. Texas Andy says, Darren, I used to use the big ones, but I had to downsize, but I've been using Tipman 24-ounce paintball canisters I got for cheap. They've been great, no issues. Now, I will say that the Tipman paintball canisters are quite good. I've always found Tipman to be a good company, good, reliable company that makes good equipment. I like their I like their longer range paintball guns specifically. They do have a good ability to throw paint like 300 feet, which is really nice when idiots on the back row back there are just camping out. Kind of fun. Keep them pinned down. Yes, I like paintball. It's fun. I don't do it anymore because I'm... I was going to say I'm too old. It's not that I'm too old. I'm just too freaking busy, and I just do not have time to be messing around with paintball guns and all that kind of stuff. You know, I just don't have time for it. I would love to have like a weekly match or something that I could get involved in, but then I'd be buying equipment and figuring out better paint and blah, 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 blah. It's just way too much stuff. But I did prefer when I switched over to O2 from CO2. I liked the lower pressure, quicker trigger, and all that for closer paintball stuff. But the CO2 works great for long range. The ice bullet technique seems pretty cool. I am not sure what that is about. Probably some reforestation. The mountain was replanted using trees, saplings, and other seedlings fired from ice bullets. Oh, yeah. It's more of like a cannon thing. But a lot of Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Bachelor, Mount Baker, and some other ones, a lot of those have been reforested by hand, if you guys are wondering. And I will say, it is a great vacation, great cardio, great workout. Get out in the fresh air, get to camp for a week. You can volunteer and go out and do it. You only make like, I think when I did it last time, I think we made like $40 a day or something like that. But I'm sure it's more now. Or maybe it's less. I don't know. Maybe it's less? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'd have to go look it up. It was a long time ago that I did that, but yeah, going out and planting trees is friggin' rad. And you know, you got to admit, you feel like you're doing something that's going to help the earth, you know, at some point. Let me scroll way back here in the chat. Let's scroll deep. Let's scroll deep into the darkness of the chat here. What do you use to film from straight above an aquarium? Ooh, what do I like to use? Where the hell did that camera go? It's around here somewhere. But basically, my filming setup these days is my EOS R. So it's a Canon EOS R, which is, I guess, sort of their flagship mirrorless camera. I got mine refurbished and rebuilt by Canon. I did not buy it new. I waited a long time to get it, so it wasn't new at the time. I got it refurbished. I saved up all of my Amazon affiliate credit for 4 months. And then I paid for the rest with American money. But I definitely got it at a very discounted rate. I used that camera all the time. I love that camera. It's fantastic. The other two cameras that I use are the DJI Osmo Action Cam, right? Is that right? And that is this camera right here. DJI Osmo Action camera. Let me get you guys a link, because if you have a fish tank and you want to film your fish tank, this is my recommendation for the camera that you should get. If you have a fish tank, you want to film your fish tank, you want to make videos of inside your fish tank, above your fish tank, and in the front of your fish tank, this is the best all-around camera that anybody should get. This damn thing costs, on my end right here, $259. You're going to have to buy some memory cards for it. It has stabilization. It can go underwater, right? So you can dunk it into the tank. You could hang it over your tank, and if it falls into the tank, it's fine. You can squirrel it around in the tank and chase your fish all day long if you want. It records 4K. It's stabilized. It's easy to use. It's just, you can just hit record. You just set it up how you want it, hit record, and you just record stuff. Super easy to use. Has a microphone built into it, all that kind of stuff. That is the camera that every fish keeper needs if you want to document your fish stuff. You won't damage this camera. It doesn't matter if you get it wet. You can do whatever you want with it. Like I said, it records 4K if you want, which is the higher quality video that everybody wants, whatever. I use 1080p because I don't need 4K for really that much. It does slow-mo. It does time-lapse. It does all of the stuff that you would need out of a camera for like under $300. So that's the best recommendation I can give you guys if you want to film video or time-lapse, that kind of stuff. If you want to take super high-definition pictures and stuff, you're going to have to look into a bigger camera or buy a $1,500 cell phone. And that's up to you. But if you want to film your fish, you want to film your fish tanks, you want to film your fish tank projects, any of that kind of stuff, the DJI Osmo Action, that's the camera that you need. There's no other camera that you will need. I literally use two of those as so I use my Canon as my A camera, and I use two Osmo Actions as my B and C cameras when I'm interviewing people or when I go out on the road. I take those with me. 100% recommend them. Adrian Rodriguez, how long does your 20-pound CO2 tank last with the CO2 reactor? See, now, here's where this gets a little bit weird. 4 tanks run off one of my 20-pound tanks. Right? I've got a 5-pound tank on a reactor onto a 60-gallon tank that I've been testing for months and months and months now, and that 5-pound tank has not run out. Months and months and months and months with a 5-pound tank. If I put a 20-pound tank on there, I don't know when it would run out. Who the hell knows? Really no clue. No clue when, how long it would take that CO2 to run out. Long time. Probably a year. Probably longer than a year. I don't know. But I put that 5-pounder on there 5 months ago, something like that. I don't know. It's still running fine. 9 hours a day at whatever bubbles per second, which it's rapid. 3, maybe? I don't know. All right, hang on. Did you say you could get paid to go camping and plant trees? Yes. Yes, you can get paid to go camping and plant trees. There are lots of forestry programs and stuff like that you can go out for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a month, and go do reforestation projects. You could be building paths. You could be doing all sorts of stuff, and you could even just volunteer for it if you want. I think it's easier to get the volunteer spot where they feed you, you get to camp. You get to camp with everybody. I mean, I don't know now with the pandemic how this stuff works, but in the past, it's legit. Cthulhu Rising says, do you have any advice on a CO2 reactor? Tempted to get the Sarah brand one. I have the Sarah brand one. I build my own. I have some DIY videos you guys can watch to build your own CO2 reactor. CO2 reactor YouTube. Let's type that into Google and see what comes up. I am the second result. I am the 5th result. I am the 6th result. I am the 8th result. And the 13th result. And those are all different videos that I posted about CO2 reactors. But the other, I'm noticing that the other ones up there Well, this one's DIY. I don't know who did that one. Maki-Fi 1. Big Al's posted one that's just like if you want to buy one. I have a DIY CO2 surges reactor, DIY CO2 reactor, DIY CO2 reactor. One was in March 11th, 2020. So that one actually shows you how to build one from parts that you can basically all get at the hardware store. So maybe that helps you. And then Aquarium Adventures uploaded one on the Sarah reactor in April of 2019. So maybe check those out. I have that Sarah reactor. I really love Sarah products. I really love I love all the homies. I love all the homies at Sarah. Great company, great people that work there and stuff. I don't know that I would recommend that actual reactor. I would almost recommend build your own, but if you're not interested, that's probably the best one around. The large one. I don't know about the small one, but the large one's probably the best one out of the list, I would say, that I've used, because I've gotten a bunch of them from China. They had a tendency to kind of break. Plastic, maybe not as durable. The Sarah one, I think, is made in Germany. Maybe not. I don't know. But that one seemed pretty durable and kind of the best one I could advise just if you were just going to buy one. Oh, Streetwise, I would still love to hear your tripod-type solutions for holding a camera above. Okay, hold on. Let me add source here. Add source. Video. So we don't want XSplit Cam, we want Logitech Brio. What's that one doing right now? So right now, this camera, what is this, a wrapper? This camera right here is doing an overhead shot. So I can literally like move my phone, that kind of stuff. And that is hung up by a small rig super clamp. So let's grab that. I'm going to grab you guys links because why not? We're getting to the end of the show here. Small rig super clamp. So we want these right here, the magic arm clamp. Text, copy. Okay, so here's the clamp. Here's Clampy McClamperton. Boom. Then the other part that you need is this right here. Oh, we got to get the link. Text. Copy. Open chat. Click the button. Go like this. Hit Control V. There's the articulating arm. Then there also is... Who makes this one? Who makes this? I don't know. I don't know who makes this arm over here. I can't see the branding on it. I can't see the branding on it, and so let me go. Let me see. We want arm. Let's just look up arm. Maybe that'll bring it up out of my orders here. There's that articulating arm, articulating arm, articulating arm. Oh, there it is. Manfrotto makes it. I couldn't remember who made it. Oh, currently unavailable. Well, that's a stinker. Well, that's a big stinker. Man, gotta watch out for them big stinkers. Articulating arm from Manfrotto is not available anymore on the internet, and I bet that probably has something to do with the old Pandarumi. But let's say that you where does it go here? Let's see. Okay, I know what to do. Let's go. Oops, click the wrong button. Your orders. Let's go, man, froto, and see if we can't get that C-stand. Well, that didn't help. Tripod. Yep. Here we go. 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 So I actually, like, one of the things that I have in play in my fish room is, so I have, does this load? Currently unavailable. I guess you can't buy that anymore. So I don't know. Get a tripod, and then we're gonna need. Then we're gonna need jib arm. Sorry, I have my chat closed, so I can't really keep track of what's going on. Wait, did I put a G in there? God, this stupid keyboard. This is my favorite thing, and it's not available. I guess you can't buy that anymore. It's like my favorite thing in the whole wide world, and I want to buy another one someday. But it's unavailable. So ePhotonic made this awesome jib crane arm. But, I mean, if you had something like some C-stands or something like that, or tripod, whatever, with the clamps, you know, with the super clamps and that kind of stuff, like, dude, you'd be off to the races. Not to mention that, like, the aquarium itself, like, you can actually just clamp stuff to the aquarium, you know, like, don't break the glass or anything like that, but come on now. Yeah. And, yeah, so, like, this right here is actually the Logitech Brio that's just an overhead cam so that I can do stuff like when I'm fiddling with my hands. Like, I generally just bring it in here. And, like, sometimes I'll just put, like, a white thing down so, like, the background is just white. Because I have, like, lots of lights in here. I have the camera. I can just record straight to the computer. So, like, I don't have to, like, pull out SD cards or any of that kind of stuff. So it's just really, like, it really boils down to, like, time consuming and making sure that I'm, you know, making all of the stuff, you know, that I need to do. Jones just got a nice reactor from Nylock G. Colin is an awesome guy, and he makes really good reactors. So I don't know how to get a link to anything. Wait a minute. Let me see. I wonder if he has a reactor on there. I thought there was a point where he actually had one on Amazon. Let me see if Colin's got one on there. Not electronics. All departments. Control V. Control V. Hello. Well, let's just see what he's got. I thought he had a reactor on here on Amazon, because I know that he's been working real hard to get a lot of products on Amazon, which is great, man. I love it when I'm able to see people that I know are good getting their stuff up onto Amazon. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see his reactor up on Amazon, so I would almost say, you know, the Sarah Active Flora Reactor 500, that's this one right here, which I got to get the text link, copy, then I got to go over here, then I got to open up the window, which is kind of funny. If somebody actually orders this and I make 12 cents off of this, it almost feels like kind of a waste of time, right? But, hey, it's the right thing to do. So there we go. There's the Sarah one, in case you were looking for that. A little bit confusing. And, dude, Moonstone Aquatics with a $10 super chat showing up, dude. Like, dude, bro, what happened? $10 super chat for a new toy for the little. Well, hey, good news. She does have a new toy showing up tomorrow in the form of a big roll of paper. Am I like I'm either the worst dad or the best dad or just a medium dad. We ordered a big roll of heavy duty paper so that we could go outside and rock the old. We're going to mess up some paper and do some painting and stuff. She is entranced by painting. Like, it is. She cannot think. Like, there's nothing better. There is nothing better as far as her little brain goes, is smushing paint onto stuff, dude. She loves it. She actually asks me about it. Painting? And she knows that we paint out on the front porch. We have like a paint easel out on the front porch because it's a disaster. So you can't do that inside. She's such a cutie, man. She's such a cutie. Lawrence Keebler, 10,000 foot explanation of a CO2 reactor. CO2 reactor is essentially going to fully dissolve the CO2 into the water column, which is essentially going to create a little bit of a different effect than simply just like kind of aerosolizing it into bubbles, right? So a reactor will allow the water to give a lot of dwell time to the CO2 to get it fully dispersed into the water and not just go up because of gravity, up and out and gas off, which is why a lot of people have concerns about gassing off when they're injecting CO2 into their tank, which I find to be pretty unfounded. If you buffer your water just a little bit and you're using a reactor so that you get good dissolved CO2 into the water column, you really aren't going to encounter that gassing off problem. Definitely in my experience and from a lot of testing and a lot of research and really like working with a lot of people over the years and years and years of trying to get CO2 into an aquarium in a way. The reactor is by far, in my opinion, and in my professional opinion, the best route to go. I know a lot of people argue with me about it, and they've definitely argued with me about it over the years, and I would just point at my 150 gallon. I would just point at that thing and be like, here you go. There's like 60 species of plant all living together in one tank. I'm using a basic fertilizer and a CO2 reactor and running the system. Like, it just, there you go. You know what I mean? Like, the plants will do better in a tank that has the CO2 dissolved into the water column in a reactor type way, because it's existing in the water as opposed to just passively existing for a shorter period of time. That's the 10,000 foot explanation. I could get like real weird about it, but you know what I mean. Alyssa says 12 cents is 12 cents, and you are correct. All right, guys. I think, man, we're winding down, and I left my window open, and it's like 85 degrees outside, so it's starting to become 85 degrees in here. Oops. Such is the heat sink that is the basement here. But air is drawing through the window, and it's coming in from the outside, and it's getting warmer and warmer down here. So I might as well go rock out outside if it's going to be outside temperature in here. But I do have to start editing because I got to get Tuesday's video done. I got to get next Saturday's video done. I got a lot to do. So it's been 2 hours. And I want to give a big shout out to everybody who has been supporting. We did have a new patronizer today up on the Patreon, Mr. Jason himself. So mad props to Jason, a.k.a. Streetwise. Thank you very much, my guy. 100% appreciate that. And we had no new members today, which kind of sucks. But, hey, that's how it goes. And we, like I said, we just keep going one foot in front of the other. Oh, look at the analytics right there. That's where it crashed. That's where it crashed. We were about 100 people, and then we recovered back at 47. Excuse me, I got to sneeze. So, you know, that's how that goes. When you crash the stream and it's going real good, that's what happens. Try to open up a window and just talk about a thing, and boom, crashed it. But no new members, but we do have Janice Lundberg, Fish Tank Barn, and Moonstone Aquatics to thank for us not getting demonetized today. We didn't have to go through the demonetization process because, boy howdy, that's enough super chats to not even worry about it. You know what I'm saying? So I hope everyone out there has a fantastic weekend. I hope you hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell, and all that crap, because there's a video coming out tomorrow morning. I hope you like it, because if you don't, I'm going to be like, man, why didn't you like that? And then I'm going to have to keep trying to figure out why it is that you don't like stuff. All right.